This that Red Panda Anthem.
Ian, what's up?
This that Red Panda Anthem.
Red Panda, what's
This
good?
that Red Panda Anthem.
Your boy.
Going up.
One quick follow-up. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I was actually in the bank today, and a gentleman ran out on the streets to greet me, and then I ended up talking to him in the bank. And he's a guy from the Bronx who's an entrepreneur, and he was in the cannabis industry. So it's funny you had mentioned the cannabis industry. So, I would like to have a conversation about that if we can, because we understand that, and this is like just a nationwide conversation, that unproportionately, Black men have been locked up for cannabis for years. And now almost, I think 99% or 98% of the people that's actually opening legal cannabis companies are white. So now we're kind of being locked out of the economic side, and so much, regulations and red tape, and it's discouraging the people and capital. So New York City, kind of late to the party, but at the party now, getting, more and more into the legal cannabis situation. What is the plans to help disenfranchised Black entrepreneurs get into the cannabis space?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. We're in the process of building out an outreach and engagement strategy, and also providing business support. So Mayor Adams announced, and our commissioner, Kevin D. Kim, has been very active kind of out there talking about the need to make sure that the development of the legalized cannabis industry in New York City is learning from the lessons from across the country. And, being late to the party is actually an advantage to the extent that we can learn some of those lessons about how Black and brown entrepreneurs and legacy entrepreneurs have been boxed out, even with the social equity provisions that some of these other jurisdictions have tried to bake into their legislation. So we're actually following the state, New York State, the Office of Cannabis Management, and the regulations that have been issued by the state to help build out the regulatory structure here in New York City, which will be the largest market, right? But a big part of that, and our commissioner has spoken very adamantly about this, is making sure that we are incorporating the legacy market in a way that is real. And so what does that mean? It means the Department of Small Business Services, which provides technical support for small businesses, should essentially use some of the resources that we have from the city now to do outreach to make sure we are speaking to the right organizations that will have these folks who've been involved in the legacy industry actually have a real pathway to starting a business, a legal business, getting a license, and holding on to that license, right? Because of the fact that there are so many, as you mentioned, well-heeled people who are not necessarily the intended social equity applicants, who are poised and primed to seize those licenses once the operator is unable to kind of manage their cash flow or kind of work out a 5-year plan and hold on to that license. So we're really trying to figure out ways to get to the equity entrepreneurs, but also to provide them with all of the resources they need, including the city's access to capital resources and real estate, so that they can have a solid foundation to run a successful business. And the key is for wealth generation, hold on to that license so that they can pass that on to the next generation. That's what we're really focused on in New York. So over the coming weeks, we're going to be having more of these conversations and building it out. But that's at the core of what we're trying to do, and we are very optimistic that being late to the party is going to mean that we're going to be getting this right.
Can I just ask for you? One last question for me, and Ian, you can end it. This information has been incredible, especially for our city, man. We take great pride in saying that we're from New York and making sure that things are happening here. Now, you talked about building a business, but one of the other key components that you have in BNYC is that you help build community. And so I know there's a lot of entrepreneurs that may have a great idea, may have a business plan, may become entrepreneurs, but they don't know how to build a community around their business. And maybe you can't give everything away, but what are some steps or what are some like keys to help building community around their business?
And you're speaking about community in the industry, community with your peers, in addition to community to say potential customer base, correct?
Correct.
So the first thing is, being a part of an initiative like, BNYC. It's first of all, it's very easy. How do you join somebody? I think was one of the questions. You basically go to our website. This is one of those ways to build kind of the community. Go to our website. It's www.nyc.gov/BENYC and sign up for our listserv. And in that, you're going to find information. Every month, we put out a newsletter about the events that we're doing. We encourage in every event that we do that everybody who's attending introduces themselves, whether they get off of mute or they put their name and their contact information in the chat. Network building is a huge part of what we're doing. And so, when we have events that are focused on, for example, last month we had a crypto talk with John Sally. And he gave a big talk for our BNYC Mentors program. You have a lot of fintech folks, people who are interested in that space, who are getting into a Zoom together. And so we encourage everybody, share your information with one another. We encourage all of our panelists. We essentially, strong arm them. You better tell folks how they can reach you, right? Yeah. So, gentlemen, when we have you on one of our next BNYC Mentors sessions, we're going to be asking you to share your email and how can people reach out to you, right? But part of that, it's building that community in that way, right? So I encourage people who are trying to get into space to first of all get familiar with BNYC, but kind of larger. And this is a question that I think you were asking is, kind of identifying, right, that some of these spaces, while they might not necessarily be tailored for us, some of these incubators and these workspaces, like we have every right to be there as well. And so making sure that we are en masse learning about where these spaces are and making sure that we are getting in the room and learning what we can and building with each other when we are in those rooms together. This is a key aspect of what we try to promote. And then for the business itself, once you've launched, we're trying to put out programs that are focused on marketing and how do you identify, the transition. We talked about the pandemic pivot. We have some folks who are really just trying to run just a regular small business like a barbershop, right? There's a path to doing that well too. You don't necessarily have to run a tech adjacent or have a tech idea to try and be a business owner. But how do you create spaces where those people can connect with one another? We try to make sure that the BNYC, creates that connectivity.
My final question for you, because they'll kill me if I don't ask. For those that are trying to do business with the city of New York or any municipalities, like what are the process or steps that an entrepreneur can take to begin to do business with the city or state?
Well, the first thing I would say is it's important for you to learn about the city's MWBE certification program. And you can get information on that by going to the New York City Department of Small Business Services website, which is nyc.gov/business. Or if you want to use your phone, you can call 888-SBS-4, the number 4, NYC. And you could just learn about the process of getting certified as a minority and women-owned business enterprise. We have a whole host of webinars, informational sessions in multiple languages that are really designed on providing the 101 on how to get certified. So when you learn about that, you then learn about the different systems that you will then be registered on. The whole, the process of a procurement going out, the RFP process, request for proposals. How do you submit a bid, and how do you compete effectively for city contracts? But the first step is going to the SBS website or calling the SBS hotline, and our specialists can direct you from there. You mentioned, Ian, the state. The state has its own certification program, and then there is the Port Authority here in New York as well, which has a significant number of contracts. There's also the Metropolitan Transit Authority, the MTA, the subway, the buses, et cetera, which has a process for certification. So it's really important that everyone is aware of those. And there's a level of reciprocity as well. If you register and get certified, with the city, you have some benefits with the state, and et cetera. But I'd start with going to the website for the city's Department of Small Business Services.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. And
Yes.
and I'm going to be listening to you all. I hope that we will be able to get the three of you, if not all three of you, at least one of you, to participate in some of our programming going forward. But I really do appreciate the time and the ability to connect with you and your audience. You're doing great work here.
It's an honor.
Appreciate you, Kenneth.
We'll be there for sure.
Okay. Thank you all.
Have a good one, man.
You too.
Yes.
Shout out to Kenneth.
Very educational, especially in New York. But even if you're not in New York, dropped a lot of information, a lot of gems. So, it's good to do something for the city. You talk about Atlanta all the time, and got a lot of love for Atlanta, got a lot of love for LA. But can't forget the biggest market.
This that Red Panda Anthem.
Ian, what's up?
This that Red Panda Anthem.
Red Panda,
This
what's
that
good?
Red Panda Anthem.
Your
Whole
boy.
truck going up. I know they can't stand it.